Big question number 3. How did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala communicate with us? Alright, in part 1 we talked about and solved whether or not there is a creator. In part 2 we talked about and solved whether or not Allah, the creator, communicated with this creation or not. Also in part 2 we talked about how the communication from Allah is done through prophets. And in order for prophets to convince us to listen to their message from Allah, they perform miracles. But, again, there's a problem with all this. Today, there is no more prophets. For example, there is no more Prophet Isa ﷺ to walk around and cure the sick and raise the dead with his touch to convince us to listen. There is no more Prophet Musa ﷺ to walk around like he's Phoenix from the X-Men and split the Red Sea with his hands. Why is this the case? Because Allah, our Creator, made it very clear that Prophet Muhammad ﷺ would be the last and final messenger and prophet out of a long string of thousands of prophets. That's why Prophet Muhammad's miracle had to be different. And different it was. Instead of a miracle that the experts seen and would validate with their eyes, the Quran is a linguistic miracle that can be validated with one's ears. In other words, because Quran was revealed to mankind in Arabic language, a language that existed before Islam and still exists today, experts in Arabic language back then, during Prophet Muhammad's time, listened and validated the Quran. And experts in Arabic language today, in our time, can also listen and validate the Quran. Thus, Quran is a timeless miracle that gives mankind the final and complete message of how the Creator wants us human beings to live. That's why Islam is often referred to as, quote, a complete way of life. Now, when we originally wrote this video, we figured by now we'd also tackle how the Quran is a miracle. But that would be a long video of itself, and lucky for us, other great Muslims have already tackled this question. So what I've done is I've sifted through dozens and dozens of videos online, and I found 4 excellent videos that tackle how the Quran is a miracle for you. I put their link in the description below. I highly recommend you watch these additional videos with your children. That being said, I'd rather spend the rest of the time in this video answering one more question. Why are the big 3 questions so important? We want to remind everybody that we currently live in a world that's dominated by secularism and capitalism. And through these 2 isms, they promote the idea in our society that in order to be happier, better, and more successful, you have to have more stuff. And that's where all these distractions we talked about in part 1 come from. In other words, we're living under a system that's teaching our kids that the purpose of life is not to obey Allah to the best of our ability. No, they're teaching our kids that the purpose of life is to accumulate wealth and possessions, or as I like to put it, make money, spend money. Now don't get us wrong, there's nothing wrong with making money and spending money as long as it's done through halal means. But to create a whole society where the concept of God and the hereafter is void and instead replaced with simply make money, spend money is what our kids are learning. Think about it. Aside from school and parents, everything around our kids is teaching them that it's good and natural to want more and more stuff, and where they should feel dissatisfied without a life of more and more stuff. That's why the big 3 questions are so important, because they remind us that the reason Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us human beings free will, consciousness, and self-awareness, so we can use our minds not only to make money and spend money, but more importantly to figure out whether Allah exists and to validate Allah's message to us. And once your brain has done this, the role of the mind then becomes, how do I learn and obey the best I can? Because the ultimate goal of life for us human beings is to get to Jannah. Simply put, the big 3 questions remind us that this life is temporary and there is a hereafter. And if your kids go through life never learning and intellectually connecting with the big 3 questions, then they're going to end up like the rest of the drones in society, where they barely think of Allah and they're Muslim just by name, and all the phases of their life that they go through are just going to be consumed, just make money, spend money. So to summarize all 3 parts of these videos, yes, Allah did create us. Yes, Allah did talk to us. And yes, Allah did give us a manual on how to live, just like a car has a manual. And if you do your best to follow the manual, you'll be rewarded in the next life. And if you exercise your free will not to follow the manual, you'll be punished. It's really simple when you boil it down. Alright, that's all I have for this topic. As always, inshallah, you learned something. And if you did, please share it with a friend, that way they learn something. But for now, it's Coach Danny keeping it real. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm out.